Greetings, esteemed masters. I am pleased to see you all again. I hope you have been well. Welcome back to my class on the various Force Orders of the Galaxy. For those of you I have not yet met, I am Master Drakus, Jedi Archivist. Today, we are going to be examining an ancient Force sect, one which utilizes the dark side in accordance with a unique philosophy. They are incredible unarmed combatants and some of the most agile fighters in the Corps. Paid assassins whom we have fought a long war against in the distant past, and who managed to survive only by the barest of slim margins. I am speaking, of course, of the resurgent Seyugi Dervishes, that group of honorless fighters who found relevance in the modern day under the command of the infamous Darth Matu. Grand Master Skywalker was hard-pressed by the Dervishes in the early days of his reconstruction of the Jedi Order, and he was very nearly killed by them on multiple occasions. But I get ahead of myself. The Seyugi Dervishes are a sect of Darksiders who were first founded on the core world of Recopia, a hostile world located close to the Hydian Way. Recopia is a planet of sulfuric oceans and poisonous gases. The clouds are a sick, toxic yellow, but despite the hostile environment, Recopia has long been home to life. The world has been colonized since the first days of the Old Republic. The Seyugi were an ethnic group on the planet that lived a nomadic existence, roaming across Recopia's skies in vast repulsor-lift barges. They were mistrusted by the rest of the planet's populace. Indeed, the Seyugi were seen as drifters and thieves, and they were often actively persecuted against. One day, several centuries prior to the Battle of Yavin, a leader by the name of Kar rose to power among the Seyugi. He was Force-sensitive, and he gathered other Force-sensitive Seyugi to him. He trained them all in the ways of stealth and hand-to-hand combat, and thus, the Dervishes were born. The Seyugi Dervishes struck out against all enemies of the Seyugi, and eventually they spread beyond the bounds of Recopia across the core and mid-rim. They established enclaves on thousands of worlds, and became well known as an order of obscenely expensive assassins. The Dervishes are supremely skilled in the arts of violence. They are martial artists of rare peer and expert killers. Indeed, their hand-to-hand fighting skills are without any rival, save perhaps the Wardens of the Sky or the followers of Palua. A Seyugi Dervish will eschew the use of weapons unless their current contract specifically calls for one's use. Their potency within the Force only makes them all the more dangerous. The Dervishes are capable of extreme feats of stealth, and indeed, they have proven to be capable of utilizing the same technique that we Jedi use to minimize our presence in the Force in order to go undetected. They can enhance their speed and strength to superhuman levels, all of which greatly aid in their art of assassination. The name, Dervish, is given to the Seyugi in order to describe their movements. They look like blinding fast cyclones when on the attack, a whirlwind of lashing limbs, parrying punches, and blurred reflexes. Additionally, the Seyugi are capable of utilizing most of the Force powers we ourselves can call to command. They are masterful users of Force Push, Force Choke, Force Lightning, Mind Tricks, and more, all of which, of course, means that they can charge top credit for their services. Dervishes hire themselves out to the highest bidder, and they have very few qualms when it comes to contracts. For much of their history, they focused on assassinating noblemen, corporate executives, and other high-profile targets, often charging truly outlandish sums for the pleasure. They are most commonly found within the core, but Dervishes can be spotted across the galaxy, serving at the pleasure of Hutt crime lords, engaged in corporate espionage, even answering to Dark Jedi. I cannot overstate the following. The Seyugi Dervishes are extremely dangerous foes. Many Jedi were slain when they were unleashed on the galaxy during Darth Matu's lifetime. We were woefully unprepared to deal with them, and we must ensure that we are never caught off guard again. Indeed, our latest conflict against the Dervishes was not the first time that we clashed against their order. The Dervishes came to the attention of the Jedi about a century prior to the Battle of Yavin. By then, the Dervishes had become a common, nearly ubiquitous presence across the core. There was a Seyugi outpost on nearly every planet. This became something that the High Council could no longer ignore when it became clear that the dervishes were kidnapping children to train in the dark side. We had to act, lest such widespread corruption result in disaster. We moved against the dervishes in a concerted effort that lasted for decades. Many of the individual battles that took place during this time were every bit as devastating as our conflicts against the Sith, sometimes even more so, as the dervishes hid themselves deep among the civilian population on most planets. The dervishes prefer to fight without the use of any weapons, and yet, even so, they made formidable foes, adept both at personal combat and hiding their presence. It took us nearly 80 years to finally defeat their order, but by 22 BBY, the dervishes were considered extinct by the Jedi. It was a mistake that we would come to rue. The truth is that we failed to eliminate the dervishes entirely. A few hundred of their number retreated to a secret base hidden below the surface of Recopia, where they froze themselves in carbonite storage to be reawoken at some point in the future. These dervishes remained hidden beneath the surface of their planet for centuries. A few of their number were awoken many years later by some of the inhabitants of Recopia. These dervishes were led by one Razi Khan. Khan attempted to open the sealed Seyugi vaults to free the rest of his people, but he was apprehended before he could achieve his goal. The dervishes lay dormant for another century, before at last being reawakened en masse by Darth Matu when the eponymous Sith was trying to bring down the fragile Galactic Alliance in the wake of Darth Krayt's overthrow. Darth Matu incorporated the dervishes into his Burning Hand terrorist organization and used them to attack the Jedi Order, which at the time was recovering under the tutelage of Grand Master Cade Skywalker. Grandmaster Skywalker managed to defeat Darth Matu, killing the Sith Lord and destroying the Burning Hand. The Seyugi Dervishes were scattered across the stars in the wake of his defeat. Their numbers have been greatly reduced, but they are still very much a threat that lurks among the stars. You must be prepared to face one, should you have an encounter in your journeys. The Seyugi Dervishes have a unique philosophical approach to the Force, one which stands apart from both our ancient Sith enemies and our own long-standing traditions. Before we go forward, I will play an excerpt taken from Darth Matu's Holocron concerning the dervishes. Please be mindful, this is only a recording, and all proper precautions were taken when obtaining it.
The Seyugi Dervishes are an ancient order of Force-sensitive assassins who work exclusively for the highest bidder. Once, long ago, they challenged the Jedi across the core and mid-rim. Now, they are all but forgotten, a lost echo still resonating across the fullness of time. I have found the Dervish's vault. They rest within, awaiting the right moment to reawaken. The Seyugi philosophy differs from the Sith in several key ways. They argue for restraint, patience, and control of one's emotions. It is a novel view, the idea that the dark side can be utilized without the need for unrestrained passion, though ultimately it matters not. The dervishes believe the Force to be a tool, one they can utilize for their own gain. They shall instead become my instrument themselves. With them, I will destroy the Jedi and at last free the galaxy from this endless cycle of war.
The Seyugi view the Force as a tool, the ultimate whetstone against which they can sharpen their bodies and minds. In many ways, this approach is similar to the Matukai adepts, whom we have discussed before, but where the Matukai view their physical bodies as a conduit to the living Force, the dervishes see their physical forms as little more than living weapons. They train ceaselessly to make this view a reality, engaging in torturous martial arts and performing physical feats that could rival those of any Jedi. The dervish take a selfish view of the Force. They believe, as I said, that it is a tool, but not just one to hone their bodies against. The Seyugi believe that the Force is there to be utilized for one's own personal gain. They believe that there is no point of being able to call upon such power if one cannot use it to enrich oneself. This ethos fuels the Seyugi's work as assassins. They charge top dollar for their services, not just because they can, but because they must. They assign a value to themselves, and it is only when seeking to confirm that value that their power in the Force is vindicated. They have loyalty to the dervishes as a whole, but at the end of the day, a member of the Seyugi looks out for themselves first. The Seyugi Dervishes seek out Force-sensitive children to kidnap for training. Unlike our own order, they do kidnap their pupils, whisking them away in the dead of night, often against their parents' wishes. A Jedi would never do such a thing, but to the dervishes, such a violent severing of family ties is the vital first step upon the supplicant's journey. Once taken, the child is brought to one of the dervishes' hidden enclaves to be trained. They will spend at least 15 years training to minimize themselves in the Force. They will learn to enhance their physical prowess, and they will study the arts of killing until there is no way to end life that they are not familiar with. Dervish pupils learn to utilize the dark side, fueling their power in the Force with their emotions. However, they differ wildly from the Sith in how they utilize these emotions. Indeed, the dervishes have more in common with us in that regard. They believe that emotions have power, but that they must be tightly controlled at all times. Emotions fuel the Force, and the Force is a tool. Tools can be dangerous if their wielder does not keep a tight grip on them. Outwardly, the dervishes appear placid, even tranquil, like a Jedi. Beneath the surface, however, they are a roiling sea of emotions kept in firm check by mental disciplines learned while they are still a student. The dervishes also do not believe in random violence or chaos. They kill without question or hesitation, but they do not kill randomly. They kill for money and to increase their own power and influence. A dervish would never be prone to bursts of emotion, and they would never harm someone unless they had a very good reason. Where a Sith may kill their underlings out of anger, a dervish will stay their hand, keeping their frustration in firm check until the perfect time to unleash it. The Seyugi Dervishes are supremely disciplined. They may utilize the dark side, but they do not wholly subsume themselves within it the same way that the Sith do. They are violent, but they are not mindless. They are potent warriors, but they never strike without forethought and cause. We come down to the end of our class today, Masters. To summarize, the dervishes are supremely skilled assassins, warriors of the dark side who fight for profit. They have been historical enemies of the Jedi, and indeed they recently returned to plague our door once more. The dervishes have been scattered in the wake of Darth Matu's defeat, but they are still very much out there among the stars. They have reason to hate our order and to wish revenge, so you should be wary on your travels. Seyugi Dervishes are quick, efficient, and silent. By the time you know one is there, it may already be too late. Okay, that is all I have for you today, my friends. I hope to see you all again soon. Take care, esteemed Masters. May the Force be with you all.